I mean, to be fair, we don't say the show is starting at 8 p.m. Central. We say it starts after 8 p.m. Central, and it is, in fact, after 8 p.m. Central right now. So I think we're on time, although it's a little later than usual. This is USfanTV.
Hey, did I just lose you?
It's Tuesday. There's Chris. Look, everyone.
Yeah,
he's
look
here.
at me. Hooray! I fucking made it.
He nearly broke his iPad in half, but he's here.
Just about.
And guess who else we have tonight? TJ. Say hi, TJ.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be back again.
TJ is
Until they're running out of options.
There's nobody who likes the U.S. Open Cup more than TJ, I would argue. There may be people out there who like it as much, but nobody likes it more. And it starts tonight, and so he's actually watching the game right now. So if you hear, screams or anything, that's probably what's going on. Or it's just Chris getting angry again because,
because something's not working correctly.
He harbors anger deep inside his soul. We have a lot to talk about. We had Brad Guzan, Nutmeg City we got to get to. Jermaine Jones' knee injury, Emerson Heineman. We've got the U20 roster. We've got the U17s and the loss to the team we shall not speak of. We talked about the U.S. Open Cup, but first, the show title is FIFA screwing us over. Are they robbing us? Are they going to pull the rug out from under our World Cup bid? Today, the news that there's not going to be a sped-up process, at least not as sped up as we thought, for us winning the rights to the 2026 World Cup. FIFA is going to give 3 months to basically the African Confederation to come up with a bid that would go up against ours. I mean, in my view,
could be South America.
It could be South America, but the rumor is
Oceania.
That South America, isn't Oceania backing the U.S. bid?
That's the word. That's what they had said.
And South America really wants the 2030 World Cup, which would be the 100-year anniversary, which makes complete and perfect sense, so it probably won't happen. But I would think that we're still safe. I would think that this is a minor delay and we'll still get named host way prior to 2020, which was the original timetable. So I don't think this is a big deal. But I suspect if I know you, Chris, you think that there's a problem going on here.
Well, see, it's not so much that I think there's a problem here. I think we'll probably still win. My issue is that we did every damn thing they wanted. I mean, Sunil was their puppet, went and made a ridiculous Devil's three-way with Mexico and Canada to have it, or to bid on this World Cup, to host it. And then they still went, well, to me, it's just further proof that FIFA is up to their same old tricks. What are they doing? They're just looking for more people to throw more money at them. That was my issue with the whole bid anyway. It was a scam. It didn't matter. Like I said last time too, what should we do with that $100 million? Could have just used it to go buy off FIFA and get our own World Cup. Just for ourselves, and not had to worry about 2 other countries, and I had to share it all. Just going, you know what? It's all crooked. We know it. So here, we're not even going to pretend it's not. Here's the money. Have at it. We won our World Cup.
I disagree.
Instead, we played along, and they're still going to go, well, but maybe there's a way we can get some more money too. And I think, no, we'll still get it. I'm still confident, because I don't think anyone in Africa, any nation there, could seriously bid on a World Cup that could probably outvote us. Oceania has backed us up. Who's going to do it in South America? I mean, Argentina, I guess, would be really the next logical one, because I can't imagine Brazil's going to get another one so quickly.
The 2030 World Cup rumor was Argentina and Uruguay going.
I was going to say, I got to go back to Uruguay for the 100th anniversary. Cool. But
so,
yeah. But yeah, it just seems to me, that does seem like a cool idea, I will say. But yeah, otherwise, who's really to compete against us? But if there's no one to compete against us, then why not just fast track and be done with it? Go, you know what? Nobody really wants to compete. Fine, you got it.
Well,
to me, it just doesn't make any sense otherwise.
My first thought is, I think you're on the wrong track with $100 million that U.S. soccer has. I think you go to. I'm thinking craps table, Caesar's Palace.
Just taking what
Las
they
Vegas.
say.
Craps table, Caesar's Palace. That's it. That's where it should be spent. That said, the original timeline I thought was 2018, and whether they do it this year, whether they do it next year, I think it's a whole lot of who gives a shit. I think they're really kind of waiting to see if this truly has to be a Mexico, Canada, U.S. joint bid, or if it can be the U.S. all by itself. Ideally, I think that's what THIEFA wants. Is it wants it for the U.S. as its whole. The only country that I've heard anything in Africa that's even contemplating a bid would be Morocco. And now you're talking a 48-team World Cup. They don't have the money.
Yeah, it's a geographically small
I would have thought Egypt would be the only other one. And I mean, again, with a country that can it do it, and is it truly safe? I mean, parts of Egypt are fine, but like parts of it you don't go to as a foreigner.
Egypt's a half step from a civil war as well. So no, right. I think the rumor is that they are supposedly just trying to make it. Somebody complained or paid FIFA, I'm sure. So they're taking their time with it. Who cares?
The funny thing to me was that it's we'll give you 3 months to come up with, like, I know groups like this move slowly, but that's really quick for, like, that's nothing. So it just basically seems like they're placating somebody who complained, like TJ just said.
I think it's 3 months, and they have to say, we're going to put a bid together. And then if that happens, that'll push it to 2018 where they can get the full bid together. Like if Morocco said, hey, we're going to do a bid.
Okay.
You've got 90 days to say you're going to do it, and then you've got until 2018 to go ahead and do it. I think it's irrelevant. I think this time it's going to come back over here, and whether it stays with the U.S. and Mexico 8 years, or Mexico and Canada, hard to say. I'm not convinced that's going to happen either.
I don't know. I wouldn't have thought that Qatar would make it, or that Russia, that the Soviet Union would be allowed to have it, but whatever. Especially after we've pretty well proven what everyone knew. That's that both of those were bought off. So you have a slave state in temperatures that can't host games, so we're going to hold them in winter? What?
To me,
we have the Soviet Union where, come on, they told us that, everyone needs to be able to show that they can make it, and that there won't be people kept out of the country. What if they're gay players? Like, what if there's an openly gay player at the World Cup? What's going to happen there? Because I'm going to trust what Putin says about, oh, no, he'll be fine. Really?
Well, but going under that pretense, it could be argued we shouldn't have it either in 2026 if you're going by what Putin says. So on that point, I think let's move on.
People are having problems watching us on mobile. I don't know what's going on.
I was having problems at the very beginning too. Like everything was popping around, and you guys couldn't see me, and then I couldn't see or hear you guys for a while at times.
So
it seems okay now, but
I was wondering why none of you guys were commenting, but I'm glad to hear. Okay, it wasn't loading for anybody.
Yeah, well, and now we're getting more viewers. So welcome everyone. You missed our lovely discussion about whether or not FIFA was robbing us of our World Cup bid, and I think the consensus is no. We'll still probably get it, but FIFA is looking out for what FIFA does, and that's trying to scam more money out of more countries and finding some other way to backdoor themselves into private millionaires.
Did you guys just hear that? I think Brad Guzan got nutmegged again. So, yeah.
Well, while we segue into that, let's take the MLS spin on this. If you're a Chicago Fire fan, which I know both of you are as well, are you kind of glad at this point that Brad Guzan's going to Atlanta?
Yeah. And
although the shit show the Fire have going isn't really that much better between Giant Bava and Matt Lampson. So
yeah, but if you're gonna lock up a DP spot on a goalkeeper, I don't know that it's Brad Guzan at this point. I mean, I've always been a big fan of the guy. He's from the same area of the Chicago suburbs as me, so, and where you live now too, TJ. So that's pretty cool. But
and he's bald.
And I've said before on the show, and I'll say it again, I trust bald guys more than guys with hair. It's just something that I have. I love Arjen Robben. I love the work that he did on the dive against Mexico. I feel a kinship with bald guys, and so I do with Brad Guzan.
Era penal.
But I know that was Chelsea, and I know that Burrow was shit. But God, he looked bad yesterday.
You're shit, and you know you are. You're shit.
I mean,
I know you are.
He's coming back to MLS at the right time. Hopefully, he can rejuvenate his career. Because
although Burrow still won't let him go.
Yeah, I heard that.
I thought they'd be like, fine, just take it, go, be done.
I feel like, Atlanta's a pretty good team. He might be able to get some confidence back. I don't know. Right now, I don't know if I'm really interested in him starting for us if Howard goes down. Obviously, Howard is in my view the clear far and away number one at this point if he's not fighting guys in hallways. But I don't know who you go to. I mean, who's next?
That goes back to our question from just a few weeks ago about who makes up the other two guys on the roster. We've talked about Horvath in the past. At least he did get a start now finally, and looked pretty good for Bruges the other day. Now it's does he consistently get starts? I think they have 3 more games remaining, but he's been there since January and this is his first start. So I think that was unfortunate. But who is next? Kind of all the guys that we've been talking about as depth chart players or depth chart keepers have had kind of poor starts to the season. So I think we have to hope that Timmy doesn't get hurt.
It's I mean, not good at this point. And I would entertain Yarborough again, maybe. I'd entertain Jonathan Klinsmann getting some time with the full men's national team at this point. I mean, there's got to be somebody around MLS who we can bring back. I wouldn't, it's just
Luis Robles, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, somebody like that, or some.
I think he's probably got to be somewhere on the list. One, because he was there in January, but also because Bingham has had some mistakes.
Crazy. I mean, this is the one position we've done well consistently at forever, and it's like we've got a 38-year-old, and we've got nobody. Then we seem to have guys for a while: Bill Hamid, Sean Johnson, guys who we thought, okay, these are the next guy, and then are any of them going to be it? I still think Bill Hamid's okay, but
Hamid just it's the injuries. I mean, he probably would have played in January, except guess who's injured again? It's like every time that guy gets a shot, he can't go. I think we have a better chance that Hamid misses games this summer for the U.S. because of injury than anyone else.
Well, the first name that came to mind with me when you guys started into this, it was Luis Robles. That's who I think should be the number one. That's the one after Tim Howard.
The number one backup, you mean? Yeah.
I'd feel comfortable with him, yeah.
Actually, I wouldn't be against Luis Robles being a number one, period, at least through the Gold Cup and see what he's got and see what he can go. But for these next qualifier, or for any qualifiers at this point, be number 2 behind Howard. It's definitely not Guzan. You look through it, Yarborough's 28. That's when I start looking. Bill Hamid's only 26. I'd still maybe give him a run out in the Gold Cup as well. Zach Steffen's another name that comes to mind too with Columbus. I think he's still only 21 and he's playing full time. If he progresses, that was the problem. Sean Johnson had all the talent in the world. He never progressed. So you've got to start looking at goalies. Then if they're young, they have to develop. And at this point, Jonathan Klinsmann may not be a bad option either. And just give him a run out and see what he's got.
Stephen Fry's out there too still. I mean, he's apparently an American now, so that's a possible thing going forward.
Justin Garza has looked good in the U17 World Cup. I mean, the CONCACAF Championship.
Christian's
a joke, but I am saying he did look good. Stefan's looked good.
I guarantee you Christian has a Zach Steffen highlight video you can watch on Crew HD videos. The number one source for Crew highlight videos on all of YouTube. There's your plug, Christian. I don't know if that was any good, but
well, the other name I'll go back to, I know he has turned down opportunities in the past, but if you're going to bring him in and put him into straight comp, what about Jesse Gonzalez?
Well, he did just say that he's committed to Mexico now. He officially said
more Mexican.
He is
the other day. Yeah, he feels more Mexican despite being born in the U.S. and being raised in the U.S. and playing professionally in the U.S. But yeah, he came out in some media interview what was that, last week, and said that he feels he's committed to Mexico now for sure.
He may feel more American if he thought he was going to get the starting job for us.
I was just going to say the same thing. I think it's a bit like maybe when Brad Friedel was retired. That but if we had really called him up and said the team's yours, somehow I think things would have changed. Because
I'm gonna use.
I don't see him on a fast route to the top in Mexico either.
No, absolutely not. But at this point, wouldn't you honestly claim to be more from Mexico if you were him than being from North Carolina?
Maybe.
Just throw that out there and leave it there. I'll just throw that out and leave it there. He's from Edenton, North Carolina. I don't know. If I'm him, I might say I'm more from Mexico too.
Yeah.
Yarborough would be interesting to me if we were going to play Klinsmann's style. Where we truly wanted to play out of the back, because he is kind of a sweeper keeper. The problem is he plays with fire a little bit too much, and he makes dumb mistakes because of it. So you have to be willing to kind of overlook some of that. And I don't think we have the offense yet to go, we'll take a chance with a goalie like that.
Yeah, I'm telling Douglas this because he says the YouTube app isn't working. Just wanted to say hello. Apparently desktop is working, but you can't hear that, so I'll have to type that in here in a second. Chris, why don't you go ahead and type that in? When I type, the whole camera shakes.
That's what I'm doing.
So Jermaine Jones, apparently he's going to miss the June qualifiers with a knee thing. My view, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it forces Bruce to have to go away from Jermaine. Maybe it finally brings Kellen Acosta into the lineup like we've wanted to see for a while, and maybe there will be a little more consistency and predictability in our positioning and our passes in June because Jermaine isn't there. TJ,
maybe it's less a sprain and more of a spring, if you know what I'm saying.
So yeah, we just got to look at Jermaine over the weekend when the Fire played LA and TJ, I know you your views on Jermaine were kind of reinforced by that performance.
They were. If you watched that game, you saw the same thing that I specifically recall against Costa Rica, that Jermaine Jones, as I've said it on this before, goes wherever the fuck Jermaine Jones wants to go when Jermaine Jones wants to do it. In that game, the number of times he spent up in the forward line with Dos Santos was amazing. And then the Fire, of course, found that space and they took advantage of it. We're up 2-0 and sailing. Jermaine Jones gets hurt, and mysteriously the second half, when they had two center midfielders again, the space was gone, and the Fire, of course, decided to play bunker ball. Next thing you go, it's 2-2. Now, the Costa Rica game is the one I always reference back to, because in that game, Jones, I thought, was actually supposed to be wide.
That was my understanding.
Never was.
Yeah.
And he never was, and that's what left that side of the field so exposed. And next thing you know, the game was over before it really even got started. So I think I've said it before, I think Jones is out. You never want to see anybody get hurt, obviously, but I think this is addition by subtraction. I think Michael Bradley knows exactly who's going to be, where they're going to be, and that helps him exponentially. He plays more confident, and that just kind of resonates from there.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either. Chris, your thoughts on our guy Jermaine?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is we all know he doesn't pair well with Bradley, and Bradley's still the heart of this team. So all in all, it's probably a good thing. Arena seems to have a real affinity for Jermaine, so he was probably going to stick him out there regardless. Now, granted, when you're playing Mexico at Azteca, you do want your most experienced, best guys out there. And, Jermaine has a point when he was saying 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, whatever it was, when he said, show me a player who's better than me consistently and I'll step down.
Yeah.
There's been no one to show themselves as his superior yet. Having said that, there are a number of guys who I think stand the potential. Now, is the answer Kellen Acosta? I think that's the big question, is who replaces him? It probably would have been Leggett, but no chance there. Is it Kellen Acosta? I was hoping that, we'd see more of Acosta back in March. I think he looked nervous. There were certainly some positives to it, but he also looked nervous, and that's probably to be expected when, it's a World Cup qualifier. It's, true game time for your national team. It's not Gold Cup or something. It's an actual meaningful game. And then on top of it, it's not just meaningful, but it's also a qualification game for the World Cup, and your World Cup qualifying is not going well. So, there were a lot of things to put a lot of pressure on a young guy there. But, could it be him? Maybe with some practice. If like the Gold Cup was happening before the qualifiers or something, I would absolutely say, yeah, you try him out there and you put him in that position and you see if he can do it, and then you stick him in the qualifiers. When we go straight into the qualifiers, I don't know. I don't know who the answer is. Acosta's certainly a good choice. I could see it maybe even going to somebody like Dax McCarty or maybe Perry Kitchen or something as a second, more defensive player. And then,
Possibly.
it's back to Bradley getting more responsibility creating offense, which is somewhat unfortunate. But, I mean, you just look at who's the next best at each position, and I could see where then Arena sticks more responsibility on Bradley and puts somebody back, and you get kind of the new Beckerman role, basically. Keep up behind Bradley and let him move the ball, let him start the offense.
At least with those guys, you got the sense that they each knew where the other was going to be, and they played well together. And that's, that I just want somebody who pairs well with Bradley. I don't get why people think that Jones, why any of our coaches, why I thought it was done with Klinsmann, but Bruce seems to like Jermaine out there too. Jermaine's a good player, but he just doesn't pair well with Bradley. It just seems like chaos back there.
Yeah.
So,
well, but it's the same premise. It's because you don't know where Jones is going to be. You
he's
can't
not
trust he's
positionally
going to be there. No, he's very skilled.
His drive is unlike maybe anyone on the team. He's not positionally sound. There are like Mike. I think you have a good point about Danny Williams. That's a good point, actually, especially considering of guys who may be in the Premier League next year. He's right up there. Reading is already in the playoffs, so he could be making it back, and presumably would continue to start there. And so we'd have a starting defensive midfielder in the Premier League. He does, to some extent, give you a lot of the same pluses that Jermaine gives without maybe some of the negatives. Now, the problem with Danny Williams has always been that he has a tendency to kind of disappear. Too much of the game, I think, falls on the other player a lot of the time. Having said that, he's probably our only defensive midfielder who can suddenly pick up the ball at his own box, dribble through like 4 guys, and end up in the other team's box taking a shot. So there are reasons why, I would consider turning to him. But is that where Bruce is going? I don't know.
Leipzig says Mick scored the first goal in NYCFC history. Has Kitchen done that?
Well played.
Yeah, Douglas, Dax would be a good call, I think, as well. Just not Jermaine.
So, no, that was exactly when Chris, or whichever, I forget which one of you chuckleheads mentioned Dax. That was who I thought of specifically. I think Dax would be perfect in that role because he has a lot of the same qualities of Beckerman in terms of field management but he's still got a little more speed and a little more ability than Beckerman does at this point, and probably a little less of a weed habit. But that said, we can.
I mean, you don't know that Beckerman has a weed habit. You don't know that. I think maybe you're just stereotyping white dudes with dreads. Maybe.
who used to play for the Colorado Rapids.
That's true. That's another good point.
What was Andy Samberg's character, Ross Trent or something like that?
We should mention
Mike brings up Heineman, but somebody brought up Heineman. It just went away. But yeah, Mike, you're right. Heineman is done for the season because of foot injury.
That's just what I was going to say. Damn it. You took the wind out from beneath my wings.
The wind beneath your mouth wings.
So yeah, Heineman's going back to the Cherries.
It doesn't sound like it's a particularly bad injury, but I assume, because kind of the season's over and he's not staying after the loan. They're probably just sending him back. So there's a chance he could play. I'm guessing he's a gold team guy this summer. That was
a hell of a good loan deal. That's about as good of a loan deal as you can for a half season loan. Damn. That's getting it done. Getting making yourself felt and seen right away. And hopefully that means that come August, he's starting for Bournemouth, which would be cool. So, we'll see. We have to mention this. I don't want to mention this. We have to. We lost to Mexico in penalties, 5-4 after a 1-1 match to lose the U17 Championship, but we were already qualified for India. And I guess if you're going to say, I said here before, we wanted to go out and win that game. It's important to go out and win the trophy and compete. So I can't go today. I can't sit back and say, oh, well, no, it's okay because they still qualified for the World Cup. Well, it is cool that they still qualified for the World Cup, but I would have much preferred to win that match. So,
I mean, realistically, we did have a number of strong points late in the game. Mexico was piling the pressure on. Justin Garces looked really good. And keeper, I mean, had we won that game, he would have, I think, for sure been the man of the match. But yeah, unfortunately, they got, you might even say it was a bit of a lucky goal. I mean, clearly they were adding pressure, so it's not completely luck, but sort of the way it went in, I would say was more luck, because it just kind of lobbed over Garces, and I don't know that was necessarily the intention of, I don't remember who shot it, but when he headed it, he was just kind of heading it at goal. I don't know that he was actually shooting it really, but it is what it is. It sucked that 2 minutes into stoppage, like we were almost there, and then because it goes straight to penalties, one shanked penalty. I wrote down who it was. I can't.
Isn't that a Luther Vandross song? One shanked penalty.
Akil Watts. I mean, he just skied that thing over the bar, and as soon as I saw it, I mean, I was live tweeting it for USfanTV at the time, and I was like,
Twitter account you should follow.
Shit, that's probably it. So yeah, that sucked.
But
interesting
our boy,
though that
I think you're going to
Josh Sargent.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, who scored 5 goals. Actually, like the one game he didn't score in, basically was the final there. But 5 goals in the tournament. He ended up third highest scoring player. He has been called up to the U20 World Cup.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Interesting,
the U20
though,
roster.
Interesting, though, before we get into the U20 roster, you can only play in one World Cup. So if he goes up to the 20s, he can't come back to the 17s.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's not true. I saw that as well, and then somebody else came back, and I wish I could know who to cite it with on Twitter, but they came back and said that is not true. That you can't play both.
Then here's to him possibly playing in 2 World Cups this summer if he's not a professional player by the end of summer.
At this point, I would probably just hit the 2 World Cups and get the international experiences out of the way. I don't think the 17s play until October. Isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So Maybe he lands somewhere in the fall. That'd be cool. But hopefully they release him. Yeah, the roster is out today. He was on it, which was probably the biggest name. Some names that are on it that are also well-known human beings, Gideon Zalalem and Cameron Carter-Vickers. There was, I think it was Tab today that said that he expects Zalalem will land somewhere in the offseason that he will actually play. So he's listed as an Arsenal player, but he's probably seen his last time ever with Arsenal, which is probably good for him. Also on the U20 roster, or I guess not on the U20 roster, the boys from Schalke, yeah, and what's his name from Fiorentina?
Josh Perez.
There we go.
Oren McKinsey Gaines from Wolfsburg.
Wait, CCV, Mike is saying, is allegedly hurt and won't play in the U20 World Cup.
Let's hope it's an actual injury and not that he's bailing out and rethinking anything here. Well, we need to get him cap tied. Matt Olasunde has not been called up to the U20s. And then I don't know, some kid named Pulisic or something.
I don't think he's good enough.
Oh, you got to question his skill level and his commitment and his heart. You really do.
He's so young. I mean, everyone keeps overhyping him. I know.
I forgot that he would even be in the equation to.
I mean, well, the tournament, in all reality, though, the May 20th through June 11th, he's still busy, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's got the German Cup final is the 26th, or 27th or something. So,
and then the semifinal of the 20s World Cup is like the day before. Who do we play? Who's the qualifier just before Mexico? The one in Denver.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Panama? TNT, yeah. Yeah, that game's like the day after, I think, the U20 semifinal. So, yeah, sorry. He's got all due respect to the 20s and the 17s. We'd like to win both tournaments, but yeah, we want to qualify for the real World Cup. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although after the Mexico and Costa Rica games, that seemed debatable, really.
That we would, or that we'd want to qualify for the World Cup?
We'll say that we wanted to, but that we would, based on the current trends, not so much. We'll just say.
I mean, I think even now it looks better, but I'm still not happy. I mean, if I was betting money, I would bet on us qualifying for the World Cup, but I'm not I don't feel like I should at this point, which is that it should be a cakewalk. So I guess it's going to get easier for the 2026 one, right? Because everybody's going to make it. That's the end of my list.
Yeah,
that's about all I got.
Oh, you know what? Somebody tweeted us, and if I had my Twitter open, I would give credit. The thing that Taylor Twellman said the other night about using some of that $100 million to fix the pay-to-play system, which was interesting. And we've railed against the pay-to-play system as being a major deterrent to us being good for a long time on this show, and so it's not the worst idea. And I don't know what you do then. Do you buy scholarships for certain players to play at certain otherwise expensive clubs? I don't know, but
or do you dump money into teams? And the way I understood it from what Taylor Twellman was saying was that money more towards clubs that fill those voids, get some better coaches, get some of the teams that are in disadvantaged areas in the inner city, whatever you want to say, and that's how you build from there. I think was what he was looking for, more than trying to move players out. It was bring somebody who can train them in, I think, was more of what he was going with.
Yeah, and he did also mention that the coaching education system should be a little bit easier and more accessible too, because it's pretty expensive right now. Beyond the F license is $25, but everything else is a weekend and at least a couple $100 to start. When you get beyond the E, it gets really pricey. So, and I think that's a barrier. I think you want more people getting educated to be able to coach their kids the right way, because even, in our area, there's effective coaches, and then there's people just still doing their own thing with no rhyme or reason or anything. So you don't see that in other countries. You see a more consistent, more thought out coaching system. So that would help. But yeah, I think good ideas from Twellman, a guy that sometimes a lot of people make fun of, but I thought he was really smart in those comments.
Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I was going to say, I make fun of him for his tight shirts, but as a commentator, he's actually turned into a pretty good.
I like him. Yeah, I do. I like him too.
I still think the best use of that money is a weekend at Caesar's Palace at the craps table and see what kind of money they can do, how much of it they can spend. That would be true USSF style, would be to blow it at the tables or something like that.
And somebody just mentioned
to buy an apartment for cats.
You know what's weird? I tried to tweet the link yesterday to vote on Best of Bundesliga because John Brooks and Christian Pulisic are on there, and Chicharito's on there too, so you could vote against him if you wanted to. So I tried to tweet the link, and Twitter thought that I was tweeting something suspicious and put a hold on the tweet. And I tried it from my phone. I tried it from the desktop. There's something about
putting a picture of your dick in there.
Can you not do that? I mean, I just wanted to spice it up a little bit, but
it worked last time.
Maybe Twitter didn't like the German link. I don't know. But so I tried to give you guys that, but I couldn't. So go seek it out and find it and vote on those
Scheisse video
guys. Yeah.
Mike, will Yedlin play regularly now that the tunes are back up? Yes, absolutely.
I don't
think he's going anywhere. I think there's a chance that should Reading come up, maybe Danny Williams doesn't play, or if Fulham should come up, then maybe Tim Ream doesn't keep his starting job, although they both are certainly locked in. All three of them are locked in at their positions. But when you start looking at teams that can suddenly have a whole bunch more money to spend, will they go find somebody better? A right back with the kind of speed Yedlin has, I don't see him getting replaced, and that he's starting to truly pick up defensive positioning. He's actually kind of getting the hang of the job, and he's got speed you can't teach it. I'll leave it at that. So I don't see him losing his job at all. I think if you're going to look at anybody newly promoted, and that certainly Reading and Fulham have not been, but they're Reading's in the playoff. Fulham looks like they will be. I could see both of those two, should they get promoted, losing their jobs or becoming backups or something before Yedlin. I think Yedlin has become too ingrained in that club. I think Newcastle likes him too much. I think the fans like him too much. There were a lot of people saying he was one of their best players this season. And you got all this extra money to spend making it up. I think you're going to go look for other positions to fill before you're going to go look at a right back.
Yeah. Christian, we talked about Johansson in the last show when you decided not to watch, remember? You go watch Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I watched that yesterday.
Groot. Yeah, so, but yes, he's possibly coming back to MLS. Or coming to MLS, I should say. He's never been here before, but I say wherever he lands, I just hope he plays and doesn't get hurt, because he's really far. He's not quite mixed Diskerud far off the radar, but he's really far off the radar right now, and I'd like to see him get a little bit closer back to maybe playing for us at some point. So, all right, I think we've done it. I think we've wrapped this show up. We have social media. You probably know this, but we're going to tell you anyway. We have Twitter. Chris mentioned it earlier. We have Facebook. We have Instagram. It's all USfanTV. You don't get any simpler than that. We hate Snapchat. We're not doing
Fuck Snapchat.
We have YouTube. but you're here. You know that. Even though it wasn't working tonight, we're sorry for that. It was probably our fault. I doubt it, but maybe it was YouTube's fault. Subscribe if you haven't. We, as of the beginning of the show, had 298 subscribers. So if 2 of you are sitting out there watching this right now and you're not subscribers, go ahead and help us out. We love you for it. Thanks for spreading our stuff around the internet, like Sean Kemp spreading his seed around the world.
We are the Sean Kemps of US Fan Soccer TV, US Soccer Fan TV.
I would have put us more at Antoine Walker maybe and gone that route, but
TJ,
or wasn't it Travis Henry? Wasn't he the other one?
Yes, TJ. Thanks for being.
And he did time. I mean, so that would definitely for drug trafficking. So I think that would be. I mean, that's Chris in 5 years. So 40 my ass. You'll by 45 you'll be trafficking coke.
All right, do the final words.
We know that's why you guys are going to Mexico City. Final words. Can I have 3 words?
I will say, Douglas, you're right. We should post more stuff on Facebook. I think Facebook sucks. I don't hate it like I do Snapchat, but yeah, we should use it more. I don't do more with it because I find the interface such a pain in the ass.
I forget about it. It's so much less user friendly than Twitter.
Yeah.
And we're bad about it. I mean, I kind of forget about Facebook. The stuff that gets posted on Facebook is generally the stuff that we have automatically posted to Facebook. We just do a lot more on Twitter, but you're right. We should probably do more on Facebook. That'll be our May resolution to a lot of people, a lot more people have Facebook than Twitter. So, all right, we'll do it. And we'll get on that note, podcast.
You're done.
All right.
All right. My final words are fuck you, Chris.
That's all. You're done. Thanks.
Real nice. Real nice.